Hi, Jordan. All right. I need to know something here right quick. When you think about, now if you throw something at me when I'm not looking, I know who you are. That's what I'm afraid of right there. That's why I want you to stay there. Okay, here's the deal. When you think of service, when you think of benevolence, what kind of image comes to your mind? Give me a good picture, a good symbol of service. Communion. Okay. It represents service in what way? Maybe how Jesus served us. That's probably right. Give me another image that says service. Go.
Jesus washed me.
You just ruined the whole lesson. It's okay. That is good. It's very good, and we're going to do that in just a minute. Give me 2 or 3 more. Don't even talk about the event. We're going to get there. Give me another one. Another image of service. When you see it, it says service. Go.
Have you ever heard of Ichthus?
Ichthus, yes. The music festival, yes. Okay. What else? Give me another one. Give me a picture. What would you say looks like community service?
Cleaning up trash around the community.
Okay, you might see people out picking up trash. That says service. Yep. Anybody else?
Collecting donations for the homeless.
Okay, if you see people collecting money for the homeless, that says service. Very good. Okay. All right, so a lot of ways we can look at service. Okay, but we've already had it spoiled, so we're going to deal with it. John chapter 13 has, for me, the best image of service. And here it is. This is the best image of service that ever was, right here. Okay? Now, the towel is a lasting image of service that we learn from John 13. But the towel has a lot of other images that it portrays. For instance, in the sports field. Now, most of you, those of you that are heading, Bert, in my direction, age-wise, who remembers the towel in sports like this? Huh? Now, I had camp with most of you people, and y'all talked a whole lot more there. So if you're talking, talk where I can hear you. Who is this? I always wore it right here. You ever seen one? Yeah, big guy. And his son coaches the same team now, and he sweated all the time. And he was constantly, John Thompson, he was constantly doing this at Georgetown University. And then there was this guy that coached out in Las Vegas. And he kept a towel underneath his chair, and in the games he would, yeah, the towel. All right, now, check this one out. How many of you in your houses have a guest bathroom that has towels that you're not supposed to use? How many of you have ever used them? How many of you got in trouble? My wife came in. Why is that towel messed up? Well, I washed my hands. You don't use that towel. Oh, what's it hanging there for? To look at. Are you kidding me? You hang up a towel to look at?
Is it pretty?
I don't. Is this one pretty?
Is that it?
I don't know. No, this is not the towel. No. This is not the towel that's hanging in that bathroom. Otherwise, she'd have killed me. No, I don't touch that towel anymore. I don't even look at it. I just go in like this, making sure. All right? There are towels that are just for decoration. I never knew that a towel was a decoration. Never figured it out. Didn't know it. In fact, I know 3 towels in a bathroom that have been rolled up for 6 years. They're just because they're pretty. Okay, so towels can have a lot of symbolism with them, right? But in John 13, they have a very powerful symbolism. And it's the symbol that I want to leave you with tonight. Now, we'll go through the story real quickly in John 13. John 13, just to help you understand also to get some things in context. John 13 through John chapter 20, those 7 chapters right in there. That's just a matter of about 4 days. Okay? So it's 4 days crammed into, spread out into 4 chapters. This is the time right before Jesus was being crucified. And they had the supper. We understand it as the Last Supper. And the Bible says that supper being ended, Jesus took up a towel and girded himself, and that means they wore long flowing robes, and he took his robe and tucked it into his belt, and he took a bowl of water, and he began to wash the disciples' feet. Now, pretty stinky job probably. They didn't have socks. Walked around in sandals in the dirt and the dust, and he washed the disciples' feet. Now here's the deal. See, it was the customary thing in that time when you had a dinner that you always put a bowl of water and a towel out for the guests, always. And when Jesus sent the disciples, said, get ready for the dinner, they had put the water out and they put the bowl out. They put the towel out. Everything was ready. You know what they didn't do? They didn't figure out who was going to use the towel. Not one of them stood up. So Jesus did. And he washed the disciples' feet. And he's going around the room. And he's washing feet. Well, right after in John 13, right there about verse 2, when it talks about Jesus girded himself and began to wash the disciples' feet, the next thing says, and Satan had already put it in his heart that Judas would betray Jesus. He put it in his heart. It was there. He had already decided, I'm going to betray Jesus. Okay? He's going around the room and he washes feet. Jesus knows everything. And he came to Judas Iscariot. He's going to wash his feet. And in just a little while, Judas is going to get up from the table and go and sell Jesus to the soldiers who are going to crucify him. Could you do that? Could you do that? One thing that can happen with the towel is you can just refuse it. I don't want it. I don't want it. It's yours. Every one of the disciples did that. Every one of the disciples threw it away. Said, we don't want it. We're not going to wash your feet. And Judas even said, plus fact, I don't even want you. You can throw away the towel. Just get rid of it. This is not my job. Judas had been given trust from Jesus. Even though, according to the text, he had been stealing money from the purse, as they called it. With money they would use to care for themselves, maybe that people gave them to buy food, maybe to help the poor. And he was stealing money from it. You think Jesus knew that he was? I think so. Judas refused the towel. All the disciples came in, and they're all sitting around, and like as their normal custom, somebody's supposed to wash feet. Maybe they're all looking around at each other and said, "You going to do it? You going to do it? You going to do it? I'm not doing it." They all refused the towel. One thing you can do, you can just refuse it. I don't want it. I don't want it. That's what Judas did. But Jesus washed his feet anyway. So he goes on around the room. And he comes to Peter. And he begins to wash Peter's feet. Peter said, you're not washing my feet. What? You're not washing my feet? Okay, Peter, if I don't wash your feet, then you have no part with me. You have nothing to do with me. And Peter, which is how Peter is, he said, "Oh, okay, give me a bath." Peter, the guy who was a roller coaster. I mean, he's up here, and then he's down here, and then he's back up here again. Peter, who, unwilling to have Jesus wash his feet, and then immediately turned around and said, "Just give me a full bath." In just a little while, when the soldiers come to the garden, Peter pulled out a sword. I think it's pretty cool how Dr. Luke describes that event, because he talks about he cut off his right ear. That's interesting, because the guy's facing him, and Peter pulls out his sword and he goes up like this, and he cuts off the right ear. It's neat how Bible writers write sometimes. But then in just a little while, when Jesus said, "Peter, put your sword away," they go to the courtroom. Peter's outside. The other disciples are gone. But 3 times someone said, "You were with him. I know you. In fact, you speak like him. He's got to be, you're one of his." And it got so bad that he denied it by cursing and swearing. The guy who was ready to take up a sword is now cursing 3 times. I don't know him. Later, after he is resurrected, and he's appearing, Jesus is, to his disciples. He came out in John 21, and he sees Peter and the disciples out there in the ocean. "Hey, catch anything?" "Nope." "Throw it on the other side." Peter came running into him, and he said, "Lord," Jesus said, "Peter, do you love me? Do you love me?" He says, "Well, yeah, I love you." "Peter, do you love me?" "Yes, Lord, I love you." "Peter, do you love me?" "Lord, I love you." Jesus gave Peter an opportunity to offset his 3 denials with 3 confessions. He gave Peter an opportunity to towel off. See, Peter took the towel and said, "Okay, Lord, I'm washing off the crud. You let me start over. I'm taking off all the dirt." Because Peter was willing to towel off when given the chance. After Jesus was ascended, Peter preached that great sermon. He had denied Jesus in the public, and now in front of thousands of people, he preached a lesson confessing Jesus. 3,000 people obeyed. And as you walk through the book of Acts, multitudes came to the Lord. But immediately after they obeyed, the leaders of the Jewish people began to harass and to persecute them. In chapter 3, Peter heals a man who has been sitting at the gate of the temple begging for alms. They'd known him, all the people knew him, and he healed him. And immediately the leaders called in and said, "You got to stop this. Quit preaching like this." Chapter 5, they were still doing it, and the leaders said, "We command you, don't you preach anymore in the name of Jesus." And of course, Peter's answer was, because he had the towel, whether it's right to listen to you more than God, you judge, but we got to preach. By the time chapter 8 rolls around, we see Saul, the persecutor. And Saul has an army given to him by the leaders of the Jewish people. And he is allowed to take this small band of soldiers to go to towns where there are people preaching about Jesus and arrest them, take their stuff, put them in jail, and even kill them. And what do you think those Christians were doing? What do you think they were doing when all of their friends and neighbors in the church were being put in prison, being persecuted and harassed and told to stop? What were they doing? I'll tell you what they were doing. Chapter 8, verse 4. Those who were scattered went everywhere preaching the gospel. You can take up the towel. That's what they did. The towel becomes a symbol of service. Judas, I don't want the towel. Peter said, I don't want the towel, but then when his heart was right and he repented, he could towel off. And then those Christians who were persecuted, they took the towel and went with it. And it went everywhere they did. Let me ask you this. What are the towels in your life that you could take up? Think for just a minute, where might God have placed a towel of service for you that you hadn't thought about? Could it be at school where a certain person is being bullied? Could you take up the towel of service and intervene in that situation? Could it be at your home where without griping or complaining or moaning, you simply begin to help around the house? I know how it is. I distinctively remember when I was probably 12 or 13, I said, you know what I'm going to do? This is Saturday morning. And I said, I'm going to get up and I'm going to vacuum the house for Mom. So I got up and I came out of my room and I'm going to vacuum the house. And Mom came down the hall and she says, before you do anything, vacuum the house. And I said, I'm not doing it. I don't want to do it. I want to vacuum the house. Well, I was just going to do it. Yeah, but now she told me to. Is there a towel of service in your home? What about, did God put a towel of service in your church for you? I get tired. I mean, I was where you are in Florida, going to youth rallies, and I kept hearing all the time, you're the church of tomorrow. You're the church of tomorrow. You're the church of tomorrow. And every year, it was always tomorrow. That's why I like Last Two Eaters. Because Last Two Eaters is about today. What is the towel of service in your church? I don't know. What is it? Is it menial service like helping put the songbooks away, pick up trash? Is it helping in a Bible class? Maybe have you volunteered to a Bible class teacher to say, do you have any materials for your class that you need to have cut out or put together? That's a towel of service. Sometimes you have to ask to be put to service. Don't just sit around and wait for somebody to come to you and say, you know what, I think I'd like for you to do. One of the towels of service that God puts in your control is that you can volunteer. And here's the thing about service. It's almost like a Christian drug. Because when you do it, you get a feeling that you can't get any other place except in service. You can't. There's nothing that gives that feeling, that gives that satisfaction like unrequested, simple service. When was the last time that you did something for somebody and you expected nothing in return? Not anything. And you weren't even upset when they didn't even notice it. You didn't expect to be thanked. You didn't expect to be paid. You just served. Until you do it, you have no idea the power of it. When was the last time you did that? When was the last time you did a secret service where literally they don't know you did it? Somebody did it, they don't know who. There are all kinds of ways you can serve in your local church, in your local congregation. The only question is, are you looking for it? The towels are there. There are towels lying all around in your life. It's just a matter of whether you're going to pick it up and do it or not. So the towel says, I want to serve. Lord, put me to work. I got my towel. I'm ready to go. So, did you bring your towel tonight? Did you come here, or do you go anywhere with your eyes open, looking for a way to serve? Service is so needed because people are very selfish. And we need people who will serve. People want to have recognition. They want to have honor. And we just need people to serve. The honor that Jesus got, just remember this. The honor that Jesus received for his service came after he was persecuted because of his service. Then his glory came. Because then in Philippians 2, God has given him the glory, the name that is above every name, that at the name of Jesus every knee should bow of things in heaven, things on earth, and things under the earth. And you know why? Because Jesus, with a towel, is the supreme act of service. So I leave you with the question, what are you going to do with the towel? The Lord's laid them out there for you. You going to reject them? Are you going to reject it and then realize you messed up and say, Lord, I'll take it and let me start over? Are you going to pick up the towel and say, I'm ready to go, put me to work? I have talents and abilities. I'm ready. I hope that you will be in service. I know you have a service project coming up. When is it? This Saturday. And I hope that you're involved in that. And I'm sure that's part of where we're leading to, heading in that situation. I hope you're involved in it. And I hope that that gives you an opportunity. But don't just do it there. Let it be something that now is going to characterize your life. Be people of service. Because I'm going to tell you, teenagers a lot of times don't have a reputation that they are servants. They have a reputation of serve me. Let's see if you can change that reputation if indeed that is the case.